Hello, today we are looking at... Oh, you see my other hand. Do it there. Try that again. Magic. The Primary. This is a prototype copy of The Primary, again coming to Kickstarter, which is based around the American election. Apparently that's what The Primary is. The Primary in England is probably the local school for children. So it's not that, it's not a game about, should we just get on and see how the game plays? Let's do that. So here is a look at the prototype version of The Primary. The Primary is a kind of area control game set around the US election. Now obviously I am not familiar with the intricacies of US politics, so for me really this is kind of an area control game that has this kind of shrinking mechanic that works quite interestingly. The board is set up here for 3 players. They have their supply or their bank of tokens, and they've all chosen before the numbers went on which state they would like to start in. The numbers go on in a suggested setup here is 1, 2, 5 and 9 and non-voting rounds. You can change that, but it works really well. And the next vote token is placed under which round it is. During the course of the game there will be 12 rounds, 8 of which are voting rounds. Once a state has been voted on, the token is flipped to tick, and that state is now cannot be influenced anymore by your tokens. You are looking to score the most delegates at the end of the round around the outside track. The delegates that each state give is indicated in the middle, and there are 2 types of vote. There's one where there's only 1 winner and one where there can be 2 winners. If those winners tie, these points are added together and split, and second place gets nothing. During the course of the game you'll be moving around the United States, holding rallies, trying to place influence, slurring your opponents with negative ads to remove their influence, and all the other sorts of things that take place in a election, allegedly. First thing you will do is choose from one of the candidates. You get dealt 2. They all have a special power and a starting cube. Now this is an important thing. The cubes, your influence cubes, are in 2 states. In your hand means they are ready to be used onto the board. So let's say green had 4 over here. The rest are in the bank and they cannot be put straight onto the board unless there is a specific rule that tells you from a news card or your own special ability. So that is the general setup for people. They've chosen, they've gotten their cards, their things into hand. Everyone gets exactly the identical set of cards. These include a positive ad, which lets you place 1 influence anywhere on the board. A negative ad, which lets you remove 1 influence anywhere on the board. Fundraisers give you 1 influence from your bank into your hand. Super packs, of which there are 4. If you play the most of these, you gain 4 influence cubes from your bank into your hand, and if you tie, you gain 2. The bus lets you move to any adjacent region. The plane lets you play 1 influence cube out of your hand and move to any region, and rallies let you place 2 influence cubes in your current region. In your turn you will be playing 4 of these face down, and then 1 at a time you will all reveal them and take that action. So you kind of planning your go, but you want to give yourself some wiggle room just in case an opponent does something unexpected. The round always starts with news, which is one of these cards, which is turned over and will give you the rules for the round. If you play the most fundraiser cards, gain 2 extra influence cubes. If there is a non-zero tie, all players gain 1 extra influence cube, and then a rule for the solo mode as well, which I'll talk about in a minute. So that will be in effect for this entire round. Of course this isn't a voting round, we won't vote until round 3. So the first vote is going to be in this state in the middle, which is happy for green. Let's say they've played a rally card to strengthen their position. Each counts for 1 influence as well, and then they're thinking, well, 4 is going to be the next vote and I've got 1 right next to me, so I'll move there. Red plays a negative ad and takes away 1 of the greens, and blue does the same and takes away 1 of the greens. So all of a sudden greens has changed. They're getting the bus next round with the next card, so they have to move because they've played a bus, so they move to 4. Red plays a bus and moves into into whatever state that is, voting region 3, and blue just decides to move there by bus. That's what card they played. So remember, this is all happening from 4 face down, not candidate cards, 4 face down cards that have been revealed one at a time. You might have had a plan that was set in action, only for it to be ruined, like for green here. So next round, green places does a rally, places 2 in here, but now they haven't got any more cubes left because they've used all the cubes from their hand. Red does the same thing, plays a rally, and blue plays a super pack card. Then back to green, who plays a fundraiser card. Red plays a super pack, and blue plays another super pack. So at the end of the round, blue wins the super pack, gets 4 cubes from their bank into their hand, and red gets nothing because they didn't win the super pack, and then green just gets the 1 from the fundraiser. All this carries on until a vote takes place. So let's say we've done 1 and 2, and then we're on to a vote in 3. We would simply count the most. So had this been a voting round for 3, red would now win it and get 15 points, or delegates, on the delegate tracker. This would be flipped over to 3, and a voting poll booth would be placed in all states with 4. You carry on until all the votes have taken place, and at the end of the 3 votes on the 12th round, the person with the most delegates wins. A quick extra on the bot cards, which I forgot about. Bot cards are played, you play 4 cards face down as normal, you play the first 2 cards, and then you resolve the bot card, which is drawn off the bot deck. You move the bot to the region where you try and fit number 1 first. If you can't fulfill number 1, you then add in number 2 and then add in number 3. And that always gives you a place where you can put the bot. You then take the bot action and you roll the dice to determine how many super pack cards the bot has played this round. They're all different, and again, the bot is quite aggressive in my experience, so it still makes for an interesting game. That is the solo mode for the primary. I was pleasantly surprised by the primary. What you have in the primary is a light, accessible area control game that's easy to teach and easy to play, yet has ongoing depth and strategy. And this all revolves around the fact that you can see where the votes are going to be. The votes are not a surprise. You have that information. You know exactly the order of the states that are going to vote, and you can use that to your benefit, or you can ignore it. Or you can go short term and just, you've got those options. Do you spread yourself equally across as many as possible? Do you go heavy on the latter votes? Do you concentrate on the early ones? Probably you're going to decide to go where some of the big scores are, but because of the random setup, they're not always going to be the same states. I really like the fact that everyone has the same cards. I wonder whether there could be some kind of stretch goal where there could be some alternate cards that just add to the candidate. Maybe each candidate could have another special card as well as their special power that they can use maybe once a game or something, and then it's discarded. Just to add that bit more variety. But I like the fact that you kind of know what people are going to play. And I like the fact that you've committed all 4 cards. Apart from when you've gone low on the pack cards, just as the super pack cards, just as an off chance that you win it and then someone else puts 4 out. But again, there's decisions there. If you put 4 super pack cards out, you've essentially wasted a whole turn to get more cubes into your hand. But you're going to guarantee at least 2, unless if someone else does 4. Whereas if you only put 1, you've wasted a card. But sometimes that feels more gutting. Although if you put all 4 out and no one puts any out, then again that's like, oh dear. And I find that in this game that it's a real balance between over-committing resources and under-committing resources to that initial card play, and then to the states themselves with your influence cards. A lot of people who play this game the first or second times were over-committed influence to states. So they were winning states, but they were winning them by 8 influence when they didn't need to. And other people were building up in other areas, and having that better spread is certainly something that I think works a bit better, or certainly not over-committing resources like that. I like the individual player powers. I like the way the news headlines dictate a unique rule each round, so each round's going to feel different. I like the theme. This is where not being American, not understanding how it all works really, I barely understand this country as it is, kind of perhaps lets me down a bit. So someone walked past while we were playing and said, "Oh, is that something to do with Risk?" And it's that kind of feeling. Yeah, it could be dudes on a map. It's cubes, not dudes. And the theme comes from the cards and the news and the candidates themselves. The theme is very well done, very well. The dressing is very well done. But yes, it could be done in other ways. Apart from, I don't see how easily it would be to do this kind of shrinking map, because once a state's voted for, you don't go there anymore. There's no point putting influence over there. You've already won it or lost it. You're on to the next one. So the whole game, the whole area which you're trying to control is shrinking and shrinking. And this just creates a wonderful dynamic of the point when people realise that and they go, "Oh, hang on, I haven't thought about 12, but 12's the only one left, and they've been putting one in every go with their positive ads. I should have thought about that." But it becomes more obvious. It becomes obvious, hopefully, at the time when you can still do something about it. I think it works well at all player counts. Interestingly, I preferred the bot mode to 2 players because the bot is super aggressive in a way that perhaps a 2-player can't be, because the bot is able to put more cubes out. They don't have the bank hand dilemma. And the bot is just really cleverly done. I'm not a solo gamer, but I was really impressed by the bot in this game and actually preferred it to 2-player. I think this game shines the higher the player count, and is also meaner the higher the player count. But, area control is a mean genre, if you ask my opinion. So I've been really, really impressed with the primary. Like I say, the only negatives for me, or the things to watch out for, things you might not like, currently all your hands are the same and you just have that one unique candidate power. And the theme might not gel for everyone. I just take it as a light-hearted look at an election and just find it so interesting. The shrinking board just gathered all my attention, and I think, as I say, the dressing around the theme is done really, really well. Oh, and I forgot to mention this whole bank and hand concept. So you have influence cubes in your bank, but you can only use the ones from your hand, and that's really cool as well, because at some point you're going to have to fundraise or risk a super PAC. So if you like area control, if you're looking for an area control game that will get your family, your friends into an easy playing game that could open up to the whole wonderful world of area control, in my opinion, then I think the primary is a bang-on great example of that. This is not, I'd love to get my family playing Viral, but I wouldn't, but I could get them to play this. There's too much going on in Viral. I have a younger son, but he could understand this. He could know there's very few cards to learn, and even though you've committed them, you can adjust and alter your plans. So yeah, I really, really like the primary. Check it out on Kickstarter. The link will be down below as soon as the Kickstarter is live. Thanks very much for watching Board Deck and Dice. We'll see you next time.